Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Phoenix Point. This is the game that we are revisiting today. We're on a little bit of an XCOM-like kick at the moment. It's a niche that I'm really starting to enjoy. What did we look at? We looked at Xenonauts, which is kind of new to me. Also Terra Invicta, I think, inhabits that space. And then of course you've got the reimagined XCOMs and that sort of stuff. So Phoenix Point sits in there, and it's a banger. It's a banger of a game, which I feel is a bit more of an unknown or hidden gem for a number of reasons, number of contributing factors. One which was sort of meta in that this was one of the first sacrificial games to go on the Epic Games Store, and I believe at the time it might have upset consumers because it pulled from Steam. So it was going to go to Steam, then Epic came onto the scene. Epic probably offered them a whole bunch of fuck you money, and they took it, and so they came off of Steam. So I can understand why that upset consumers in a first world situation. They don't want to have two different launches. But also from a developer perspective that's trying to get your game off the ground, I can understand the temptation as well. So I see all sides. Anyway, this is a fantastic game. We're going to jump in and I'm just going to show you the ropes, bit of an overview. Again, this is a revisit. We've covered it extensively on the channel in the past, but I do like to come back to these great games every year or so. There's been a whole bunch of DLC added, and this is a Steam build, so it eventually did finish its exclusivity run and come across to Steam. So this is a sort of complete pack. I don't think they're planning any more DLC, but they added quite a lot of stuff. A lot of it is mostly just sort of cool items, but Festering Skies added the sort of aerial component from the original XCOMs to it. I don't believe that dogfighting and all that was actually part of the base game. Then you've got some side stories like these sort of AI components, but then you've also got these really interesting, different weapon variants, and then like the Chaos Engines, it's like a shop that you can go and get like Mad Max stuff in the world. So it's not just like skin packs. It's all generally quite a lot of value add. There's a lot of content in here. We're going to skip the prologue, and I'm just going to jump straight in. God, look at that, though. I will say, of all the games, this leverages the Eldritch, Cthulhu, horror more than anything. I think more than original XCOM.
Founded on October 24th.
It's much more Terrors from the Deep stuff.
The second war to end all wars was over.
So you've got this narrative, which is really interesting.
Understood that we could no longer afford to think in terms of nations and empires.
But we will zip over it. I thought I'd just show it just enough so you know that it's there. It's a cool background. The Phoenix Point organization is a sort of scientific endeavor, not quite a secret society, but it's more of a, it's the high concept of what happens if you put a bunch of brilliant people in a room and you give them enough resources as possible and see what they do. Like, that's sort of conceptually what it is. It has this rich backstory. The whole game has a really interesting backstory. What we're in the middle of is a sort of post-apocalyptic second event of this Pandora virus that came from the ocean. It's kind of unexplained. It mutates people, but there's also this mind control component of people just walking into the ocean and disappearing. So it really does. It taps that fear of the unknown that I think good cosmic horror nails. And yeah, so like as far as the eerie, unsettling feeling, and a lot of the monsters in this, I don't want to give too much away, but they have an aquatic component. Think more crabs and that sort of thing. But they also mutate and react to your behavior. So if you start bringing grenades to the fight a lot, they're going to start bringing sort of mutated shield arms, or they've got different machine guns or poisons or even like ink clouds. So they have all these different little mutations that can be added into their sort of genome pool in a pseudo-reactionary way. I also believe there's a geolocation component to it as well. So if you end up over on the other side of the planet, you're going to be facing off against sort of different forms. I think that's how it works, if I recall. Anyway, so if you know these XCOM niche games, it's very much business as usual. At the same time, there are some more sort of arbitrary limitations that I think make it unique. You can see here that we've got a research screen and you've got your generic sort of research outbreak thing. So yeah, like I said, there was an original outbreak of this virus. It kind of put the world into a post-apocalyptic state. Cities and countries as you know it don't really exist. It's more these three major factions with various political skews Some fit the setting better than others. They live in these sort of like city states. So there is a political interplay, but it's dumbed down, right? It's a 3-faction component. That's fine. That's the setting. The idea is that there are these mist incursions. I don't know how much we're going to see in the early game, but what happens is the aliens, or the whatever you want to even call them, the terrors from the deep, will make an incursion onto the land, and they'll start spreading their influence in this red mist, and it will start enveloping cities and that, and then you can't really see what's going on within there. They build bases that you want to go and fight. So it very much is this sort of viral spreading incursion is more of the theme, as opposed to some sort of UFO from outer space thing. It all plays out pretty much similarly. Manufacturing, you can, a lot of the UI and that's actually very quite clean and tight. It feels very console accessible. You could probably play this with thumbsticks pretty easily. So yeah, you build out all your kit through here. Ammo and that is a thing as well, which isn't normally the case in these games. You've got your Air Force tab here, which doesn't really play out that much in the early game. Personnel, I put it on actually. Now look, this will trigger some fucking sad boys, right, that take themselves too seriously. But if you go into your options, what you can do is you can set it so there's random soldier outfits. I love that personally, but there's entire Twitter threads of people that hate the sort of the costume choices in XCOM 2 and all this sort of stuff. Like it's actually crazy, some sweaty people. I personally think that the option's great. You can turn it off, you can just have boring dudes, but even though you end up with a dude in, bright pink clothes or whatever, it adds character, right? Old bloody Nor the sniper with the aquamarine friggin' get up, after a few missions, I'm going to become quite attached to him. And I think it helps having a visual distinguishing component. But you can just turn it off if you don't want it. Diplomacy, again, is sort of an interplay between the 3 factions. I think it's probably one of the weaker parts of this game. Bases, if you've played any of these sort of games, this is all very familiar stuff. It seems cluttered, doesn't it? But you can build more base bits and pieces here to sort of try and balance. I don't think you can build food plants anymore, but you could at launch. The game's changed a lot since when it first launched. For the better, broadly speaking. You got sort of these 3 resources that are into play. Food's interesting. Food's more like your how you pay for your troops in a way, right? That's what it represents. But the big thing is that you essentially drive your little plane around and you move it there, and you can see that's its sort of operational range. And then you go explore, and time passes, and the Doom timer component is the spreading mist. You can find more bases. You can't build them. I think there's 8 bases around the world. So it's one of those, you have to explore the unknown, as opposed to, Xenonauts is a great example. We just played that like yesterday, where you place the bases freely, right? It's more about trying to generate that coverage yourself. But yeah, this you have to go out. You have to actually explore. It's almost like your character is your manticore in many ways. Fort Methuselah. So what's this? Begins with strange dreams. If we stop these soldiers, New Jericho will be grateful to us. Oh, right. I think they changed the flavor text. Anyway, so what this is a pseudo intro mission. We'll just take our default dudes. You can see we've got 3 riflemen, we've got a sniper, and we've got the heavy weapons dude as well. We'll deploy away. Oh, they look cool. So when you encounter the factions, it will give you a sort of generic fixed faction mission, and in this case we've got an issue where I believe the dudes are having like nightmares in the Fort Jericho faction. Is that the name of them? And you have to basically come in and kill these rebels and help them out, right? These dudes are the very cookie cutter, humanity first, let's kill the bad guys, let's not deal with these mutations. One of the other ones is sort of embracing the mutation as the next step forward, which I think generates some interesting conversation topics. And the other one is the dumbest one of all, Sanhedrin, who think they want to be some sort of weird fucking worker co-op communist group. It's very, very strange. Like, never mind that I have my personal reservations about that sort of ideology. It's just a strange time to try and implement it in the middle of the apocalypse. But anyway, I suppose you've got to do it at some point. The cool thing about the heavy dude is he has like a jump pack. It's kind of strange because he's almost a shotgun, the way his cannon works, the way accuracy works in this. So you jump him up and then you sort of ambush people. That's what I do. I kind of like it. It's dinky sort of tech. There you go. We can see a bloke down there. I don't know if we can hit him from there. One other thing worth noting is the real sort of gimmick that sold this game is the way that you aim with your soldiers, right? Let's get into combat first, and then I'll sort of elaborate.
Rolling.
Let's move there, and then let's do Overwatch into there. The Overwatch cone is really interesting. If you hold control and mouse wheel it up and down, you can narrow it. I think that's quite cool. Same thing, let's Overwatch you into this room here. And you can choose the depth of the Overwatch as well. The sniper, we might rush the front door. I remember doing this. This map is actually fixed for this scenario, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. I'm not sure. It seems familiar.
Moving in.
Anyway, off we go. And then this, we might move this bloke, just see if you can see any more dudes down there. And then they have their turn. As far as like the movement, the control fidelity, it's very punchy. It's very quick, not a lot of downtime. I just think, I would say even compared to the modern XCOMs, it plays and controls in current day really well. Probably the best. As far as, yeah, like I said, that actual control fidelity. All right, so if you press F and your dude can see, it will automatically lock onto a dude, and you can just pull the trigger, right? Off you go, right? And it gives you an idea of how much damage it's going to do with the predictor, gives you all this sort of stat line. But the whole idea of this is that it's not that it doesn't do the random roll chance, it just does it differently. So this is our aim reticle, and it's going to be different depending on your weapon. For this thing, it's actually quite large because it's more shotgunny. But the sniper rifle, you're going to get I'm using my hands, you can't see it, but you'll get a much more narrow scope, closer to when you sort of, well, see, if you zoom in, it doesn't make a difference. It's just helping me aim. So this is how the game works. 50% of your shots are going to fall inside the center circle. Now, I'm a bit rusty on this, but I believe the other 50% fall inside of the faded circle, which is to say that that's included in the center circle. So it's not just the ring outside, it's the whole circle, right? So there's a chance that there is a hypothetical chance that 100% of your shots will all fall within that center circle. I believe that's how it's worked. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think the other 50% just falls in the donut on the outside. So you can sort of see, so the center is half your shots are going to be in that more accurate center, and the rest are going to be slightly less accurate. And so you can sort of look at that. Because we're so close to this dude, you can almost guarantee every single bloody shot's going to hit this prick in the head, right? And so you can choose and pull the trigger. But oh, you reckon? Yeah, that's probably bad for your health. So he's dazed and stunned and bleeding and having a bad day. But one of the shots missed. And if you even rewound the video, you'd see that would have fallen inside the outer ring, and that would have fell outside of his face, right? Didn't take up the whole camera. Anyway, let's jump in here.
I'll be right there.
Your dude's again, I can't help but compare it to something like Xenonauts, which I did play recently. It's a 10-year-old game though, so not the best comparison. It's not super fair to hold it to that standard. But one thing you can't really do in that game is like peak heavy cover, whereas this you very much can. So you can jump on there and you can see around the corner. You can turn the camera as well. It's very punchy. Very punchy. It helps that I'm running this on a super fucking rig in modern time. It had a lot of issues running when this launched.
I'll be right there. There.
Where is he? Where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh, look at him just standing up there flexing.
Rolling out.
Now, it is line of sight as well, right? So if you can see a dude's elbow poking out, you can shoot the dude in the elbow. Which is cool, you know. like, I don't want to say it's less gamey, because it's absolutely still very gamey. But perhaps you understand what I mean. It's less about 95% dice rolls and all that sort of thing. I mean, let's just jump behind this cover, make this dude at least work for it. I think I could Overwatch.
Anything that moves, dies.
Yeah. And then there's not much we can do with you. So off we go. Yeah, that's old mate bleeding up out the face hole. Ooh, what's this bloke up to? So you can see sort of hidden movement. Ooh. Now you can see that they're taking locational damage as well, which is a really cool aspect of this. So this dude's head is considered destroyed. I can't remember what exactly that does, but it infers negative stats. I think more obvious ones would be if their leg is destroyed, it messes with their movement. But really importantly, if your arm gets destroyed, it goes into red state. You can't use that arm. So all these dudes that I've got rolling around with two-handed weapons, they won't actually be able to fire their gun. So having a pistol sort of in the backpack, which your sniper has by default, but that's more of an action point thing. But you actually would consider loading your dudes up with one-handed weapons as well to offset the idea that they could have one of their arms disabled. So you can see this dude, it's not quite there yet. Let's have a look actually. Can I? No, see I can't hit him from where I am. I mean, I could Overwatch the door. Because what I was going to do is look into the sort of armor situation. I guess I can shoot at this bloke. I kind of want to just hit them with the assault rifle over a distance. You see what I mean? See how the reticle is much larger. Now, if you mouse around, you can sort of see the predicted damage against his health bar at the top, and then you've also got sort of locational stuff. You can aim for guns, that's the thing, because these bullets are actually point to point, right? They have a travel path. They hit things along the way. So you have destructible environment, you can blow up walls and shit like that, but if you pump the dude's gun, you can actually disable it to the point of non-function. That way you can also, blow walls out of the way intentionally as well. So yeah, it's very much that the projectile will in fact have a path. But you can see here, and that's just a predictor, obviously, it's as best as it can. And if it was lethal, it'd be like a sort of X. But I don't know, maybe we do try pumping this dude's gun. Now he gets to fire back, that's a trait that he'll have. That's not normal behavior. There you go, equipment damage. Equipment damaged. Anyway. Bushwhack this dude, eh? And then you have a look at the sniper scope one. Look how precise that is. You can see that's not actually going to do enough damage to kill him because of his helmet. Now, I don't think if you shoot them in the actual fleshy face in the front, that doesn't make a difference. The head is still the head. The head does not have subsections like face. I don't believe it does. Though, yeah, we could in fact, I think we could disable his gun. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, look, see, it's actually disappeared. It doesn't exist anymore. Equipment destroyed, Bulldog AR. So there you go, doing that is a legit move. I don't know what he's going to do next. Anyway, let's shoot old... I could shoot old mate in the face again. Look at that. Look at the blood coming out of his head. Oh my god. War dog helmet. The helmet's destroyed. It's interesting that I'm not getting an X. I'm going to go for it again. Yeah, there you go. Just because the predictor wasn't really... well, it could be because he's human. Maybe I'm getting it conflated with the alien dudes. Not 100% sure. I guess we could, throw a grenade or something just to test it out. Yep, he didn't like that. Now, I think if you put enough damage in, you can take the walls and all that down. Pretty sure.
On my way.
You can melee as well. What happens if I overwatch here? Let's do that. And then you can hide. You can overwatch there as well.
Position.
he's trying to get out of there. Get out of there, Kurt Russell. Yeah, he's having a bad day. So friendly fire is absolutely a thing in this game as well. So you gotta be careful you don't hose your own mates. Head disabled. Minus willpower. There you go. I think punching takes 1 turn. So, oh, can I not land next to him? I was gonna say, can I land next to him and then punch him? I think they've actually intentionally. Oh no, there you go. I can. Yeah, get busted up, son. And old mate's trying to hide from us in here, but we know that's not gonna fly. It's a great game. Absolutely great game. Can I see him from here? You can. It will show you if you can line of sight dudes. There you go, like that. I won't have enough action points to kill him, but... Or I might have enough for Overwatch, no. But still, it's handy to know you can see them. Oh, that blood just spraying out. I don't think... Yeah, this guy has no secondary weapon. I think we fucked up by shooting his gun, because he's just going to keep running. Poor bloke. Now, you can fire and move as well. Like, the flexibility is significant. I kind of love it.
Here goes.
It uses willpower to do the jump as well, which kind of acts like mana, but your dude's breaking from horror is a legitimate component of this game. So you kind of don't want to fuck around with your willpower too much if you can help it. Now, I'm not sure if that bleeding is just going to stop on its own. I guess I could show off, you know, the medic. He should have in his backpack. Oh, maybe he doesn't. Oh, but you can put all stuff in their backpack and have him play with that. Oh, am I looking at the wrong dude? Oh, right, no, he can trade with his mate. Okay, so he doesn't have anything in his backpack. That's fine.
Moving.
Or Bethany, sorry.
This better work.
And then you can just hit that for center of scene mass, right? Which works, honestly, for the most part, unless you're actually... And I've talked about this before. Oh, did he retreat? Oh, interesting. I've talked about this before, and then all the Sweat super fans get angry. But I do find that the aiming is a bit of a gimmick. There is some very situational times where maybe you do want to disable a certain weapon or an arm or a body part or something like that. But 90% of the time, you're better off just slamming spacebar and shooting center of scene mass. I just find that that's the case. But again, you know, Q sweat lord that wants to write me a fucking 10 paragraphs about how I'm wrong. Anyway, so they introduce you to their philosophy, and you can sort of do more missions with them. You can interact with their havens, which is really interesting because not all of them, you know, a lot of things in a video game world are built for you, for the player, right? Like, it doesn't really make sense outside of your agency. So the cool thing about this is, you know, this little, like, we could raid this factory, I suppose, but these guys are only very small. They've got a training center, so they're going to be training up their own dudes, but there's no one for me to recruit. There's nothing for me to trade. It's just a haven. It's just a place where the boys are hanging out, you know? All right, so let's do a little bit more exploring. You can see we've got the guys leveled up. They get fatigue from doing missions. This is for another faction, which I'm not going to do. So if you want to heal your guys, you actually want to send them back to base. And they will heal over time, depending on the healing, like medical facility, I believe. Got a bunch of research. We can research the factions that we've encountered. We can reverse engineer weapons. So this is the rifle issued to the to New Jericho troopers. So we could reverse engineer it so we could build it. We can push the main narrative, right? We can make it so that we can now recruit soldiers from havens. That's kind of cool. Let's queue that up. If you go to personnel, we can't do it yet, but you get to a point where you can actually recruit Phoenix Point rookies, and that was added way late in after release, actually, well into development. You couldn't actually recruit your own dudes. Like, you could only recruit people from the other factions, which makes sense, right? You're this scientific faction in the post-apocalypse. Where are you going to get your recruits from? You're probably going to bring them in from the wasteland, as it were, right? So that was an interesting change. So you essentially can recruit naked Blando dudes straight in. You have to make all their equipment so they don't come with their basic bad habits and that sort of thing. Let's just continue on. Oh, here you can see the mist incursion that we were talking about. There's another Anu haven, right? Not really doing much, but you can trade with them for food and that sort of stuff. See, it had a mist status component. Explore. So that affects them being attacked, and they will get attacked by the monsters. And then you can intervene and, you know, try and help them out, that sort of thing. Done some more recruitment stuff. I mean, I guess whatever, let's just queue that for the moment. Oh, you can see they've got a little vehicle themselves as well. I'm kind of looking for trouble to fight, you know. But the game doesn't seem to want to give it to me. Now, it's a little bit more... Oh, here we go. What's this? Condemn this sick filth, don't get involved. Right, so I didn't read it. You can pause it and have a look, but you get these sort of ideological things come up against you. I don't know, let's just not get involved, whatever. I'm not 100% sure because we've got these little question marks, but you can see this pulse going out from our base. It used to be in an older build, you'd have to build your own radar stations and they would scan out, or you had to initiate a scan. And this is how you would find the question marks. Whereas now the game kind of just sort of spoon feeds it a little bit more. That's fine, and you can tell, like, this might be the most accessible of all the XCOM games, even more than, say, XCOM 2, right? Because that's still quite unwieldy under a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the base building, you know, the away missions, friendships between characters, all that sort of stuff. That's not a bad thing at all, but, like, if I were to recommend an XCOM-like game, because they're always complicated, the first one, it might not be a bad idea to get someone onto Phoenix Point. Because a lot of the stuff is, again, I don't want to say dumbed down, but I think honestly streamlined is the better term. A lot more accessible. Because, yeah, baby's first XCOM game. That's probably the best way to look at it. I could be wrong. People could disagree with me. You're welcome to. Anyway, look, that's sort of a bit of a top-down look at the game. Again, these aliens elude me, but there's only so much I can do in a video. You can see they're starting to get onto the ground. Oh, here we go. Surely if we go into the mist. Surely. Yep. Exploration site, search the museum. Again, so that was just more of a text flavor thing. Like, it's not always going to be an encounter.
Randall Symes was the last leader.
And this is story development based on my research. You're trying to retrace the steps of the founder of Phoenix Point, or the leader of Phoenix Point. So there's a cool sort of main narrative there, which isn't necessarily something that you have in these sort of games. Anyway, the game's just doing everything it can not to let me encounter any of the creatures. But, you know, take my word for it. That's sort of the core of it. Oh, and there's Symes. In fact, actually, if we go and push the Symes story, I keep almost finishing the video. But I know for a fact that when you go in here, you fight monsters. So that's Synedrian, that's one of the factions, and you can see they have that aesthetic to them. It is cool. It's cool how different all three of the human factions look. And then, of course, you've got the alien faction. And it's got some serious monsters. Some that takes, like I said, the ones that, a lot of them that mutate, but you've got stealthy sort of hiding dudes that try and paralyze and get toxins on you. You've got sort of head crab, face hugger stand-ins as well. Let's see. Let's go cause some trouble.
Moving.
I might actually just end my turn. Where are they? Aha! There you go. So the Arthron is your generic main sort of dude. And you immediately look at him, you can see his two arms. It looks like he's got a pincer and a shooter. And the Triton is more of a sort of a sneaky pistolier. And they have different mutations. Yeah, so he seems to have a gun, just a normal shooter, and a pincer claw, which is quite dangerous up close. And I think they can spit with their mouth as well. Can't quite recall. Yeah.
Let's just get
You
this
just
over with.
have a bit of an inspection of them. Triton Strangler, right? So you got their blood-sucking arm. Damage the enemy and regenerate the creature if disabled. So it's steel. So it's like a health steal sort of thing. He'll probably die next turn because of his health there. And then you can have a look here, right? There you got the Arthron. Head if disabled, minus max HP, max willpower. There you go. Pincer. Melee attack pincer. Damage 65, which is a lot. And, it looks like he's just got a normal shitty arm. Oh, that's okay. Well, it's early in the campaign, right? So, but sometimes they have shields, and their shields are so strong. Like, a shield and a pincer, if not dealt with, is a pretty horrible combination. Then you get ones where they have more of a sort of like assault rifle machine gun thing. Then you got ones that launch like grenades, and that's really dangerous. But yeah, and that's just in the early game, and I don't want to talk about, but the game does get you up against big monsters. These little dudes are nothing compared to what this game has. Anyway, bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I thought, yes, Phoenix Point, worth returning to, worth having a bit of a look at. Let me know what you reckon, what your thoughts are on this sort of format or these sort of games. I'm sort of, not that I'm intentionally covering all these XCOM games, but they just seem to be in flavour at the moment. If there are any that I've missed, I mean, I obviously haven't covered the new XCOMs. Let me know, because I think, you got XCOM games, you've got this, you got Terra Invicta, you got Xenonauts. I think they're the main ones. But yeah, if you've got any suggestions, pop them in a comment. Maybe I forgot something glaring in me in the face, or I totally missed. But yeah, Phoenix Point, an absolute lost gem for many reasons, not all of which are its fault. I think it's a great game, and if you find this genre interesting, you should give it a go. Anyway, team, I don't want to waffle. Might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.